Hey guys, welcome to another movie review. Today I'm talking about a new independent film from Shudder that's called Good Boy. This is a film about a dog that has a owner that moves into a house that a deceased relative once lived in. And so basically he moved all his stuff out of his old place, is trying to move into this new place where the former relative lived. And basically, very early on in the film, we're introduced to the idea that a paranormal entity lives within the house. um, the dog is able to kind of sense this entity. He's able to kind of warn his owner kind of when the entity's around and is trying to protect him the best he can. But over the course of this film, we also find out that the owner has a bad health condition that the dog is trying to help him get over with. And obviously, on top of that, he has to deal with this paranormal entity that's within the house. So, over the course of this film, this dog and this owner have to figure out, are they going to move out of the house? Is the dog really going to do something helpful to protect the owner from this ghost? Does what can this owner do to basically make sure his health doesn't go down the tubes? That he can, maintain the house, put it up for real estate again if he's not able to live there. So these are all questions and answers and scenarios that run into over the course of Good Boy. But overall, guys, I thought this film was pretty fun. It's one of those films where we're introduced to an idea right away. We get to follow a perspective of a dog for almost the entire film. It's also a very short film. It's only about an hour and 15 minutes, so it's very, very short. And like I said, we do follow this dog throughout the course of the runtime. It's more so about him than about the owner, really. And there's just a ton of things about it where it's unique, it's different. It definitely is a more unique take on a dog movie. I do like the fact that there's an animal that gets a little bit more love and attention than the human does in the story. But I am going to go over some positives and negatives as to why I enjoyed the film overall. But there's also some negatives along the way that prevent me from absolutely loving the film too. But for my positives and negatives of Good Boy, I thought this experience was very cute and unique, and a very cute and unique take on a dog story. I do like that we do follow the perspective of the dog. We do kind of see everything from his perspective. We do get to see, um, all the stuff that happens with, this dog and this owner and how the dog is reacting to it and how he's personally trying to take responsibility for it. Um, just very, very unique take on a film, a very unique take on a dog story, and overall, it was just a very fun experience overall. There's also some fun and effective scares in this movie. There really is some pretty creepy moments where this entity is trying to take over, the house and trying to haunt this owner that lives there. And I thought the scares, for the most part, were pretty good. It does kind of make you jump out of your seat whenever those moments happen. It really is. It's not just another cheap jump scare. They really do feel very effective in the movie. And I thought overall those scares were pretty effective for the most part. It's also very impressive that a lot of the dog choreography was able to happen the way it was. Um, it really is pretty impressive that they had to go through all this trouble just to make sure that this movie happened. Um, it really is quite impressive that this dog is able to kind of respond and to be, scared of something or excited about something or nervous about something, and they're kind of able to get that in frame on camera for those specific shots. So very impressive stuff. Really liked what they did here in the movie for that. Um, very impressive with the dog choreography overall, and it's just a very effective way to tell the story. And I also like that it wasn't just CGI or just something like that. They really had to make sure the dog got trained and choreographed to be able to do these certain things throughout the movie. I feel like it worked overall for the most part. I thought the use of lighting and windows and long distance was also very helpful. Lighting because the house is very it's a moved into house. There's not a lot of lights that are installed yet, and so I liked how they really kind of limited themselves as far as what lights work and what the dog can see. And for the windows, they made good use of the paranormal entity and things going on outside, things going on with the weather, and overall for the most part, I like the overall use of windows and how it really adds something to the story overall. Also, the use of long distance. I like how when the dog's all the way down the hallway, and like the ghost or there's something going on in the background that's all the way in the other end of the hallway. The camera's able to make good use of that and be able to put the dog in the foreground or something else in the foreground and make something interesting going on in the background. So that way something interesting is always going on back there. And so I like how it's not just, the dog doing stuff on camera. There's also stuff going on in and around the dog in these environments that kind of add to the distance, add to kind of the claustrophobia and the short distance moments too. And able to make kind of good use of the camera as far as what's in frame, what's all the way in the back, what's all the way in the front, the foreground and the background. And I thought all that was very well utilized over the course of the production. I also like how the camera's almost always below waist level, so it really does feel like we're kind of within the dog's perspective for almost the entire runtime. Um, and I do like how it is told, mostly from the perspective of the dog. It's, that the humans are kind of involved with the story, but they're also kind of not. So I do like how the film is able to kind of keep everything below the waist and make good use of that overall too. But for my negatives, a good boy. I thought some of the human characters were very surface level. Besides the this illness that this owner is running into with his dog, they really kind of don't defy what the illness is and why he doesn't want the dog around when he's really not feeling well. And so there's certain details that the film, because it is trying to be so much within the dog's perspective, we do kind of lose a lot of those important details that we kind of feel left out on. So, like I said, it's very surface level with the humans. It would have been nice to get to know those characters a little bit better, and specifically kind of the illnesses and the things that they're going through, rather than just us kind of all the way back here when we really need to be here to kind of what's going on with that owner, that person, and figure out what exactly is going on with their life. I also thought some of the makeup effects were a little cheap, and yeah, I get it. The main star of your film is a dog, so you really can't do like any kind of stinky or heavy kind of makeup effects or anything like that. But they do kind of feel a little cheap, unfortunately. Really kind of a letdown here. So I thought some of the makeup effects could have been better over the course of this film too. I also like how, well, actually, I didn't like this because it's a negative, but it is more so the dog's experience going through this paranormal scenario rather than the dog being a protector of the owner. A lot of the marketing and the trailers and even the poster of the movie kind of hint that the dog's kind of this hero or protector of this entity from his owner. And I would say it's more so about the dog's experience going through this rather than him protecting the person. So I thought that aspect of the marketing and the trailers were a little misleading because it does kind of build up to potentially this dog protecting the owner from all this, but it's really more so about the dog experiencing this paranormal stuff going on with the owner at the same time. And I thought that aspect of the film felt a little misleading for me. This was also a very short runtime for a movie, and I thought that shorter runtime, maybe an extra 15 minutes, could have been dedicated to the human characters to really flesh them out. I thought that aspect of the story could have been better handled. I also thought just more stuff with the dog and stuff like that because it is a feature-length story. It's also important to note too that this film is based off of a short film by the same director, also called Good Boy. So I think it's one of those unfortunate things where clearly this was intended to be just a short film, short subject, and because they're trying to expand it into feature length, you can kind of tell that they didn't really have a lot of a story to kind of fill that feature runtime, and I think the short runtime of the film really reflects that. So I think more time with the humans, I think, would have been more beneficial. Something more with the dog could have been more beneficial. Just a little bit more of everything I thought could have benefited the film better. Because this still just feels like a very short subject kind of a story. It doesn't really feel like a something that was expanded in a feature length in the appropriate way. So I thought that aspect of the story could have also been better handled. I also thought more history about the house could have benefited the film too. It really would have benefited from, why exactly did this house have a paranormal entity? Was it the deceased owner of, or this deceased relative that the guy bought the house from or got the house from that is kind of the entity of that house? Was this something that he also had difficulty with? There's small hints of this on the TV and stuff like that, that there's potentially this paranormal force that was always kind of there. But, how did it get there? Why is it there? Why is it specifically after this family? The film never really dives into those details, so that's really kind of unfortunate. Because, like I said, I think the film really has its downfall when it's really not willing to provide certain details on certain things. So I think just even adding more details on things would have helped the film a little bit better. But overall, guys, I'm going to give Good Boy an 8.5 out of 10. It's a very cute and unique take on a dog story. There's tons of great things about it. Like I said, the scares are great. The dog choreography is great. Use of lighting, windows, and long distance. Cameras always seems to be at waist level for some reason, for just for the dog's perspective. But like I said, quite a few negatives along the way too that prevent this from being an outstanding film. But good enough for me to recommend it. 8.5 out of 10 for me. I liked Good Boy. I didn't completely love it though. I recommend seeing it specifically if you're a dog person. I think you're really going to enjoy it if you're a dog person in particular. I recommend the film. I just didn't completely love the film either.